When you look at a beautiful building, aesthetically blended building with its surroundings, people ask one question: who is the architect? However, there is always a precision structural engineer behind the architect and the architecture that gives reality to the architect's dreams. I'm meeting one of them today. Sri Lanka's renowned structural architect, leading in the field, is Deepal Wickramasinghe. I'm at his offices and his surroundings at Talawatugada. Let's go and talk to him. Hello, Deepal.
Hello,
so nice to meet you.
A very long time.
Very long time.
Thanks.
But well, I normally say welcome to the show, but you're the host today. I'm at your place. So let's ask our camera crew to zoom in on the beautiful surroundings. And
I'm most welcome to do the first shoot then.
First shoot, absolutely, and then we'll go into your offices and have a chat. Yeah. Anyway, how's life been?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
We had the difficult period.
Of course.
I think it's wearing off now. I think things are becoming better.
Always living in hope.
Living in hope.
Very good, very good, and optimism. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's go in and have a more detailed chat about everything that you know and I know, and how best we can make this program an interesting topic for our viewers both in Sri Lanka and worldwide.
Right. Certainly, yes. Our association goes back to about 55 years.
55 years, yes, and it's still counting, right?
Still counting.
Deepal, it's been a long time. Before we talk about structural engineering and what's happening in Sri Lanka, walk us through of your childhood to the point that you wanted to become a structural engineer. Just your life story on a fairly fast-forward basis.
Yes, okay, thank you, Rohan. I think you are one of the only people who can ask that question because our association runs for more than 55 years.
Absolutely.
So, you know that both started at Richmond College in Galle.
Yes.
And I think you, after finishing grade 7,
Grade 8.
Grade 8, you left to
Nalanda in Colombo, yes.
And I decided to stay back.
You stayed back at Richmond in Galle. Correct.
And did my advanced level.
Yeah.
And that's the point where my desire to become an engineer started fulfilling after leaving the island. I went for my higher studies in India in 1978 and did a degree in civil structural engineering and came back in 1982 to Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
So as a fresh graduate, I got an opportunity to work with this leading consultancy firm called Surat Wickramasinghe Associates.
It's in Kolupitiya.
In 1982. And before doing that, I had to do an internship in Sri Lanka. And that time I was working with them. And they were happy with my performance and they said finishing the degree to join them. So that is how I started my life in Sri Lanka as a junior engineer in 1982. And also, during that internship, I was staying at your place in Deepal.
Absolutely.
And you were doing law and I was doing engineering. And I used to listen to those. I call it some of them arguments are hilarious, but anyway, listen to them.
The teenage and post-teenage conflicts and arguments. Yes, Deepal and I go a very long way, as Deepal mentioned, from grade 1 in Richmond College in Galle. And despite the fact that I left Richmond 8 years later, we kept in touch, and then we reconnected after Deepal came back from graduating in structural engineering. Just the history part, Deepal, when you came back to Sri Lanka with a qualification in this area, how advanced or how not so advanced was this field of structural engineering? Because, I mean, if you look at Sri Lanka's history, the usual 2,500 years of our unbroken history, Anuradhapura Polonnaruwa, the fantastic buildings. Yes, architects designed it, but there has to be some precision engineering that went. So whether they had a qualification or not, but through experience, we had a rich heritage. But now we are in a more advanced area in a time that we live in. How do you match the structural engineering structure, the scene, when you came in and from there onwards, back to Sri Lanka and onwards?
So when I came in 1982, with the open economy that we had achieved in 1977, I think.
Correct, 77, the Jayajayawardena government.
And things were moving up. Construction industry was booming. And at that time, there were Japanese contractors who were very much involved in Sri Lankan projects. The Colombo International Airport, the Parliament of Sri Lanka. So the Japanese contractors were very much involved in the local construction industry. And I think that was a turning point. At that time, the Sri Lankans were working under them or with them. So within a span of about 10 years, I found that the locals took over that position. They were able to compete with the foreign contractors when it came to technology.
So just to interrupt you there, if I can pause you for a while on this point, you mentioned the fact that there were foreign know-how coming in with the open economy, and then there were locals working, but they took over, the locals. So this is a classic case of know-how, knowledge transfer. So if we have a good talented work pool, professionals and otherwise, when you work with international colleagues, you enrich yourself both knowledge and practically. So that's heartening to know, Deepal, because that's something that depending on the political spectrum where you stand on Sri Lankan politics, one stands on politics. Anything foreign is considered sort of an invasion force. But I think it's up to the Sri Lankans, you and I, to get the best from them and reject the rest. So that sort of led to a local set of architects, set of engineers.
Come up in life and be more challenging in this field, engineering, and also we're in a position to compete with technology and also know-how. Answering your first question about what we talking about the Anuradhapura period, Polonnaruwa period, yes, we had a very rich engineering knowledge that prevailed in that time. If you look at our irrigation systems, even the precision of those structures is amazing. And must tell you, I was involved in a conservation project called Abegiri Stupa Conservation Project in 1982 when I was working with Rohan De Alwis. And some of our findings were amazing, like the kind of foundations they had used for those structures and the fact that they were still remaining in that same position, and especially the water supply and drainage schemes that were done in those buildings is something similar to what we are having today.
So this was around 2,500 years ago, and call it 2,300 to 2,500.
Abegiri complex had some large set of monasteries, which is now conserved and kept. When we were doing the studies, we found the irrigation, water supply and drainage is quite amazing what they had done. It's something similar to what we are doing now. And even the structures, you can see they had pillars used like stone pillars, something equal to concrete. If you take the strength of those stone pillars, is much more than concrete pillars that we are having today.
And they were working with natural resources rather than the created process ones in concrete and iron.
And also the layout of those buildings are done in such a way, the architecture that was there is amazing to find that how the spaces have been divided, how in like a hierarchy system, like certain elevated positions were given for certain people and the lower levels for the more common people. I think I may be not 100% correct. I was once told architect Geoffrey Bawa, designing the Parliament building, he was also inspired by this Panchayatana concept that was prevailing in Anuradhapura period buildings.
Yeah, the Panchayatana, yes.
That is the central building and the 4 outer houses. That's Pancha means 5.
5.
So that is something I heard that he has been inspired, and of course he has developed a new thing beyond that. So what I want to say is we had a rich engineering heritage. For some reason, with the invasion of the British and the Portuguese, all those things would have had a natural death. But With the new technology also, our people, locals, as I told you, in a very short span of time, they picked it up. A classic example for that is, in 1990, the government decided to open up the Mahavali areas for tourism development. And Heritance spends the name, one of the leading tourist, not tourist, but blue chip companies in Sri Lanka, decided to invest in a place called Kandalama.
Oh, Kandalama, yes.
Yeah. And I happened to be the structural engineer who worked with architect Geoffrey Bawa, and that was a great opportunity for me to work with this legendary architect Bawa. What I want to highlight here is, when we want to call for tenders, everybody thought it should be a Japanese or a Taiwan contractor who will get it. But I must tell you, for the first time in Sri Lanka, in 1990, a large-scale project of that nature, the tender was won by a local construction company called LANKAN, 100% local engineers, and all the consultants who did the project was also Sri Lankan. And
so it was an all Sri Lankan project team.
Sri Lankan development and the technical know-how, everything was transferred from Colombo to Kandalama. Even at that time, there were no internet facilities, no email facilities. Just through a radio link, we started, and we did that amazing Kandalama complex. Today, standing there for nearly now 35 years, and has considered as one of the best environmental friendly hotels in the world.
And just to take you back, I'm sure you'll remember, because I come from the legal side and you come from the engineering, there was a lot of controversy about the Kandalama project in the legal courts from an environmental standpoint, how wrong it has been.
Your batchmate was against us.
Well, I had a number of friends who were involved. I personally wasn't, but I was fully aware at that time what was going on, both from your side and from my legal colleagues, and that was hotly debated, both emotionally and legally, but it has turned out to be a fantastic project, a long-standing project.
Yeah, I think we were able to handle some of the constructive criticism, yes, but there was a bit of a politically motivated propaganda also was coming in, which was purely just to be against the project.
For the sake of being against. But yeah, you highlighted a very strong point. Constructive criticism, even though it's still criticism, it can be looked at, addressed, and possibly accommodated to either 100% or to a large extent. And I think that's the exchange of views. I think even in a democracy, one should have the healthy exchange, as opposed to just because I don't like your project for whatever reason, opposing it. But I think most of my colleagues were exchanging on a very constructive basis, and robustly before the courts as well. I must say that.
Correct. Actually, to answer that, the people who objected to the organizing of environmental foundation, they were the people who were really opposing. All these people are very well known to us.
Of course.
They were very concerned about the contamination of the Kandalama tank water, and also the sustainability of the environment after constructing this resort. To answer the question, it will be surprised to note, when we tested the water before we start the project, it was highly polluted, including there was fecal matter in the Kandalama tank water. Now, in our proposal, we never tried to discharge any water to the tank. Water was to be recycled and treated and use it our rooftop gardens.
I see.
That was the system that we adopted. And no water was taken from the tank. It was groundwater through the tube well, which was below the rock level, nothing to do with the tank water. And some of these things were, when it was highlighted, they were satisfied. The proof of the case is after 30 years, you don't see the hotel today. It's covered with that jungle that Mr. Bawa wanted in front. And the roof is planted with trees today. And that building, only you see the openings for the windows
I see.
I can't see any destruction. Anybody going there will totally agree with me. It is just a place that looks like place like gone for wilderness.
So it's all natural,
It's all
nature.
Absolutely natural. And all those wild animals who are roaming there, and more in numbers they are now, I think.
Yes.
And so peaceful, and there are no disturbance of them. Also, I think the management was also extremely careful because there was criticism. They also didn't want to break any of the regulation. Also, do something that will be detrimental to the environment. And they were socially responsible when they maintained the place better than what it was.
So, Deepal, that was just the initial few years of your entry into the profession as a structural engineer.
Yeah.
So, what's been the path so far been both for you and for the country and for your profession overall?
Actually, now what happened in 1982, I joined Surat and Wickramasinghe. Then in 1990, I went into partnership with this architect Milroy Perera. That's how I got this Kandalama project, as well as getting the opportunity to work with architect Geoffrey Bawa. But also I have to mention one name in this process who was with me from 1982, an architect by the name of Ahungalla.
A young architect then.
He was a very young architect who resigned from Surat in 1982 and did a small veranda practice, it's called, from his veranda. And he happened to be a great friend of mine as a working colleague. And he was involved in projects, so many projects. Important project I can mention is called SOS Children's Villages.
That's Piliandala Pavillion.
You get Piliandala, Monragala, Novelia, Amradapura, gone. So, from 1982, this project SOS Piliandala, which was designed by architect Ahungalla, was really admired by architect Geoffrey Bawa because first time we used concrete rafters for the building.
I see. So instead of wooden rafters, timber.
Severe shortage of timber at that time.
Yeah.
They were experimenting what alternatives can be brought into the market.
Right.
Instead of timber, which was short supply, well, there was an absolute shortage. So at that point, we decided, shall we go for concrete rafters? Size-wise same. Visually, you can make it same by painting it in timber color. So on an experimental basis, we did these concrete rafters. And that became a tremendous hit because nobody could say it was not timber. And architect Bawa had seen this and inquired from Ahungalla, who is this engineer who did this? So that is how my name went to this great architect, and he said, I would like to meet him. So meeting the legendary architect, who was about 30 years older to me at that time.
Yes.
I was a bit nervous, but anyway, he happened to see me, and before Kandalama, I did some work for him, and it's called now Zimbabwe Hotel at that time. Now it's called Avani, Kalutara.
I see.
Then he was taken up with my way of approaching the design field, and he said, "Do you like to do this project?" That is how I started moving. So 1990, I formed this partnership with architect Milroy Perera, and there onwards, after finishing Kandalama, we had this opportunity doing the Blue Waters Hotel, again by architect Geoffrey Bawa. And
this is Blue Water in Wadduwa.
Yeah, it's a beach resort with 150 rooms, and it was finished in 97. And Mr. Bawa wanted to do we did the additions and alterations to Triton Hotel.
Ahungalla.
Now it's called Heritance Ahungalla. That was done by me with architect Bawa. And President Java then had a bungalow called Red Cliff in Mirissa.
Right.
Mirissa.
Red Cliff.
It was President Java's bungalow. It was burned down in 1989 by the DEEPAL selection. So he did simple pavilion out of the world. It came out, just a pavilion structure.
Right.
And I happened to get involved in that one, and it's one of the best designs I hear. As well, he's one of the last projects, and also it's just a floating roof.
Floating roof. And is that still around?
It's there. It's there.
Right.
It's owned by the family,
Right.
family.
I see.
I think I don't know the people lease it, but it's there.
It's there. Right. Right.
So during that period, I did these projects with architect Milroy, Perera, and then also got involved in a couple of high-rise. At that time in the 90s was anything less than 15, maybe around 15 stories per high-rise building.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can remember doing these access towers in Union Place, which was about 14 stories high, and that's considered one of the tall buildings at 1990s.
At that time, yeah.
So with all that, then in year 2000, there was a great change. I decided to go solo, only to do engineering, and form my own company called Deepal Wickramasinghe. So we do engineering work.
So it's a total
civil structural engineering work, and I have a team of engineers now, and we are training the young engineers in the field. When they come out as graduate engineers, we give them the training, and also we got a great opportunity of working with international architects since then. If I mention some names like architect Kerry, who did the Aman resort, one it's called very very high-end chain of resort. One in Galle, I think you can remember the Galle NOH hotel that was there. In
Galle Fort.
Yeah. So that was taken over by the Aman group, and it was actually more additions and all. It was a more restoration project. And being a heritage building, we had a lot of restrictions, and that was a very tedious approach in restoring a building of that nature under the guidelines of the archaeological department, plus doing new buildings inside there.
So that's the Amangalla fort. You mentioned the name NOH or the words, that's New Oriental Hotel. Right.
And now it's called Amangalla, the same building. The building envelope is there.
Yeah.
Inside we were allowed to do some modifications.
I see.
But now it's a 32 luxury suites are there with public areas. They're doing very well at the moment in this situation. And also next other one we did in Aman Tangalle. That's a beach resort, about 40 chalets, and both are done by architect Kerry. He's a very famous architect who was from Singapore, and his company is still there. He passed away about a couple of years ago. Then also I had this great honor working with the Thai architects, Italian architects, Hong Kong, Australian architects in various projects.
Are they on Sri Lankan projects as well as outside?
And I had this chance of going to Maldives.
I see.
The Maldives is a different world, it's all sea. So the way of building there is quite different. And I did the Four Seasons and the Hilton, the Holiday Inn, the Shangri-La.
The list goes on, right?
Goes on about 10 resorts I have done, and right now we are involved in a very high-end project with Italian architects for Bulgari.
The Bulgari. The luxury, ultra-luxury hotel.
Ultra-luxury.
Right.
A large project there in Maldives at the moment.
I see. So this might be Bulgari's first ultra-luxury hotel in Maldives. I see.
And hopefully they might go for further development there at the moment. So in this process, actually, I had now worked nearly 42 years in Sri Lanka. Out of the 42, 10 with Rohan De Alwis, a partnership of Milroy, Perera, Deepal Wickramasinghe for 10 years. Then 20 no, these 44 years really. There were 22 to 24 years I have been on my own. And I must say that in that I have at least trained about 20 engineers. And I must say one guy is above me also now. He's doing having a superb practice in Australia. I see. Yeah. So one of my juniors. Right. And he migrated to Australia, and he has I think a fairly large consultancy practice now in Australia.
That's really fantastic, because you learned your craft abroad, overseas, came back here.
And the technology young guys.
Absolutely.
In fact, he still comes, whenever he comes to Sri Lanka, he comes
over here. Right.
And so happy to see. He's well above me, I must say.
Well, I think that's how it should be, because once you teach somebody, they then go on to collect more experience outside what has been taught to them and what they have experienced. So it would be really nice that the end result is that they are their resources are far higher. So one other thing you mentioned about the locally trained, no doubt one was a shining example who's done brilliantly well. But how does the stream from A-levels to universities and so on come into the structural engineering? Anyone watching this program who is doing her or his A-levels today, can you guide us through, Deepal, how a potential, a budding structural engineer's route from A-levels to where he or she should be?
Yeah, I think one has to be doing the A-level math stream.
Mathematics
stream. That is a fundamental requirement.
Sure.
Then getting selected to a university in Sri Lanka, or even if you want to go abroad, with that A-level background is absolutely useful. So you do the first year in general engineering subjects, you go to the university. Then in the third year, generally, I mean, you can get specialized, not specialized, you can branch out to any field that, I mean, okay, civil structural in school is at first civil structural engineering. And also you must have a liking to what you are doing, most important thing. The fact is, you should never do it just for the sake of doing it.
Correct.
You might be very passionate about what you're doing. Then only the actual result will come.
I think that's a very another important point, Deepal, you just highlighted. Most of our youngsters take on professions for the sake of a livelihood. I think that livelihood is very important, but I think more important is that the passion for what you choose to do. Absolutely. And then the income comes with it, and it enhances when it comes from the heart, although we use the head in delivering it.
Other thing that I noticed is unfortunately, bit of our young generation, they are only focused in completing the exam or the course.
Yes.
So for the exam, they are ready.
Yeah.
Sometimes outside the box thinking is also very important.
Yes.
You have to be innovative.
Yeah.
Because if you only look at just passing an exam, I think you might pass exam, but you won't be. I don't consider you as an innovative guy or a bright guy, out of box thinking. The people who have been very successful are not the best in the class. Right? But I can tell you that there are so many instances. The best in the class and not become very successful, but the guys.
You and I know that very well.
we are very average people.
Yes. It's the out of the box thinking. I call it the 360-degree vision in addition to your specialization.
And also, I must tell the young engineers, what you know, you should be able to market it, or at least convince the others, say that how to believe in it.
Yeah.
What you know also has to be convinced to others.
Yeah, convey and convince.
So, I mean, or else how do they know that you are capable of doing the job? So, it's important, little bit of, as an engineer, your skills of marketing, communication, public speaking, how you speak, how you address, how you convince is very important. I think that is very crucial. I have come across so many young guys who are very talented but cannot go beyond that point because they can't convince the others about what they know.
And they know a lot.
Yeah, they know a lot. So those are things that I have been training the young engineers. I put them to the deep end. You talk, I am behind. Don't worry, you make a mistake. Don't worry about the language.
Absolutely.
When I have been working with foreign nationals, I found their English is not up to the mark. Somehow they convey the message.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't feel shy. Sometimes the language may not be very strong, but don't worry. You speak. At your age, you can. At my age, if I make a mistake, it's repetitive.
Yeah, but it's a question of getting it across.
Once you get that confident feeling, you will do it. So always I had told my juniors, I am behind. don't worry. So even something goes wrong, I will rectify it. Please speak. So that, it's not just calculations. How to handle the clients when you go for a meeting, how to conduct a meeting, and even when it comes to explaining about a particular product, you have to be very sure. I mean, the client gets convinced with that what you're promoting. So all that is nothing to do with that mathematics knowledge or engineering knowledge.
No, because your client is a businessman or a homeowner trying to build a house.
So how you can convince?
Yeah.
So my thing is, okay, you need the mathematics knowledge to do the fundamentals. With the degree, and you get a degree, then you come out and you go through these industrial training, then you have to work under the qualified engineer for your membership recognition, everything. All that that's the process is more crucial to enhance what you have studied in the university, put it to practice, and how to get more out of it. Because when you work with the team, only you gain more experience and information.
Great. Thank you, Deepal, for sharing all your life experiences, both in the profession and in your education, and also the guidance and the help you have given to a younger generation of architects and structural engineers who are coming through the system. With that high and very well interesting inspirational discussion that we had, I really thank you for sharing the time with us today, and I wish you the very best in everything you do. Thank you, Deepal.
Thank you.
All the very best.
Thank you.